Welcome to another episode of Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is an interesting person. Well, all the women that I interview are very interesting, but this one is special because she's got two special, different passions in life. One is singing and writing and playing the piano, and the other one is dentistry. How did they both get together? That is going to be the crux of today's interview. Her name is Robyn, and her last name is interesting, so I'm going to get her to say it. Robyn, you're most welcome in our program. How do we pronounce your name?
McCorquodale.
McCorquodale.
Yes, but that's why I often go by Robyn's Song. My website, Robyn's Song, because McCorquodale is quite a mouthful, I know.
And that comes from?
Scotland.
Scotland. So you're a Scottish lass.
I am.
That's beautiful. So I was talking to Dr. Nita Popert, and she introduced me to you, and she said she's got such a beautiful voice. She sings and she writes, and can you put one of her songs on? And I said, yes, of course I can, but I'll have to have permission from her, copyright and all that. She said, yeah, but you got to talk to her, and you know, with dentistry and all that. And I thought, those two things must be a beautiful story in all that. So let's delve into that.
It's an interesting transition, but first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. It's quite a treat, Shushma. Nice to meet you and to be here.
Thank you.
Well, yes, it is. And if you had asked me 10 years ago that, are you going to be planning a career in the dental community,
Yeah.
I would have said, where did you get that idea? But it's interesting how the universe works when you are open to life's opportunities.
Yes.
And up until 2014, I was traveling the world, doing what I love to do.
Wow.
Write music, share music, meet people, have adventures. Had the opportunity to touch ground on 7 continents.
Beautiful. So you've been to all the 7 continents?
Even Antarctica. Spent a lot of time in Antarctica.
Wow.
Yes. Have a lot of photographs on my walls, framed, because it's amazing to have all of those experiences.
Yes.
And not just the places, but the people.
People.
And to realize that not everyone grows up like you do.
No.
And has the same experiences, even if they're the same age as you.
Right.
So an amazing adventure. In 2014, I started to recognize that my parents were having some health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know, it would be really great to continue my music, but to not travel so much.
Yes.
And I had no idea what that was going to look like.
Right.
I just put it out there in the universe, as I do. I need a full-time gig in Vancouver that has flexibility, that
Right.
challenges me, that allows me to keep doing my music, that utilizes my skill set and ideally expands my
Yeah.
skill set. A friend of mine who actually would hire me
Right.
as a musician in Vancouver, her sister was the executive director of the Vancouver and District Dental Society.
Uh-huh.
She invited her to one of my shows
Oh, I see.
in Vancouver. And it wasn't a typical show that I do where it's me performing the entire night. It was actually a fundraiser event. And I had multiple artists. I produced it, I hosted it, I performed in it, I marketed it.
Right.
And my friend's sister approached me at the end of the show, and she said, I understand that you're possibly looking for other opportunities, and you know, whether or not you're producing a concert,
Yes.
or a dental show, it's the same skill set, and I'd love to talk to you about maybe helping me out with some marketing and social media, and maybe one day you'd like to take over when I retire. Now, I never knew that one day would come a year later.
Oh, my.
But you know what, Shushma, it's been just an amazing chapter to be able to, first of all, continue my music, do everything I really
Yes.
love to do that's important to me.
Right.
The writing, the recording, the videos, and the concerts. But I don't have to do all of the traveling that I did
No.
once upon a time. Although ironically so, since being in this position, I have expanded their travel events.
Oh, have
So
you really?
I am traveling again, but you know, not as much.
No.
And I have to confess, it's Robyn's bucket list, because as I've been traveling mostly on the cruise ships, but not exclusively.
Right.
You do get a sense of places and where you
Yes.
would like to return to.
That's right.
Now we're returning turning, and we're doing land tours, and it's so exciting. And I'm just incredibly grateful for this chapter in my life.
Isn't that just beautiful how, you know, you were meant to be here and how opportunities come your way.
Yes.
And you have to realize that this is something that might gel with whatever I want to do.
Right.
Independence, to be able to look after your parents and still do what you love the most.
Absolutely. And what I didn't realize, and I guess I should have, but I didn't fully until I was in the position, is that there's not a huge leap between a dentist and a musician. And why I say that is dentists are creative.
Yes.
They are CEOs of their company, as is any musician who makes a living at it.
That's right.
And honestly, and we're very, very passionate about what we do. And what I found, I was really embraced by the dental community, and I was so grateful for that, because from their perspective, especially the board of directors, like, what, we're going to have a musician as the executive director of the Dental Society? So I think there was hesitation, understandably, at the beginning. But it continues to be a wonderful chapter, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity.
I want to take a short commercial break and come back, get the program paid for, and then ask you about, you mentioned your parents. I want to go into that, your childhood. When did you first think that, you know, you were a musician? Was it the piano or was it the writing? So let's take a break and come back.
Sounds great.
Robyn is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is a musician. She's an artist. Her name is Robyn, and I'm going to ask her about your childhood. Where were you born?
Vancouver, British Columbia, VGH.
Oh, wow. So you are a native of BC.
I am.
And how many in the family?
So one sister.
Yes.
She's 4 years older. We're very close.
Right.
We have very different lives. She went the route that most people do. She got married. She has 2 kids, my niece and nephew. So we're a very small family, but a very close family.
Beautiful. So growing up, mom and dad, either one of them inclined towards music, or music was something that was felt throughout the household? Because your background is Scottish, so did that have anything to do with it?
No. My parents at that time, I mean, as seniors, they actually joined a choir.
Right.
But at that time, no, they were not involved in music. But my dad was quite the ham bone, and when he did, as a senior, joined the choir, I mean, he just took it in. It's like, Dad, you missed your calling. But no, but they did provide the lessons. That's the key, to have the exposure when you're younger.
Right.
And of course, my sister, being 4 years older, always got everything ahead of me. And I was always the me too, running in diapers, me too. So my sister got the piano lessons. I wanted the piano lessons.
Okay.
And then one day I was standing in front of the mirror singing to, I think it was like an Elton John or Crocodile Rock, singing and dancing, and an aunt, I'm sure she was just humoring a child, but I took her seriously when she said, "Oh, you have a pretty voice." So I said to Mom, I want singing lessons now. And at that time,
so how old were you then?
I was 10 at that time.
Wow.
And so I started piano at 7. At 10, I started singing, and credits to Mom, because at that time there were not a lot of singing teachers.
No.
Like, it wasn't known. Piano teachers, yes, but not singing. But she found this woman, Kathleen Evans, who lived in the neighborhood. Oh, what an amazing woman. You know, she charged us $1 a week. It was just her token of, and she had so much to impart.
Give.
And I was really lucky to have someone who was so good at such an early age. Timbre of voice, your type of voice. For me, I was, also going through UBC in the School of Music, a lyric soprano with coloratura tendencies. That's what I was identified as. So, as an early child, and I was lucky to have a teacher with Kathleen Evans who knew not to push the voice when you're young, because when you are young, it's really not good. Your voice doesn't mature until you're in your 20s, and to do too much, you actually can do damage to it. So I had a wonderful teacher who made it fun, and she identified my strengths. We'd pick material together, And it was a wonderful memory, which actually I haven't thought about until today, but I was really lucky to have a great teacher.
So writing, I mean music, obviously, writing music is sort of a new concept for me, because in Indian classical music, there are set ragas, right? So are you interested in that as well, world music, or?
I am,
Yeah.
and I've had exposure to it, but
Right.
I am no expert on it, but it's beautiful. I love all
All
music.
musicians have got no boundaries,
No.
right? They can go anywhere.
I'm not even at the piano
Yeah?
when I write.
No kidding.
Most of my songs I'm writing while I'm walking or running the seawall or in my car. And I usually write...
And you've got a lovely car.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the car I always wanted, I dreamed of. So
writing while you're, you know.
writing, well, I do. I usually write the first verse and the chorus. And the lyric, I know the melody, I know the harmony, I know the feel before I ever get to the piano.
Isn't that interesting? So, in other words, you're writing the music first, the tune,
Actually, all together.
and then you're...
All together. Because I know that that's often a question that gets asked of a
Yeah.
songwriter. Do you write the music first or the lyric?
The lyrics first.
I write it together.
together.
Yes. Because when I sing the lyric, I already have to have a melody in mind
Yeah.
and a phrasing, more importantly, a phrasing in mind. And so, no, I write it all together. And I know people that do, or some people only write lyrics and write the music.
That's right.
I've never collaborated in that way. I think it would be challenging for me. But yeah, because I'm used to just the idea
doing
coming.
both of them together.
Yeah.
Isn't that a very interesting concept, to be able to prepare the music and the lyrics just sit beautifully in it? It's not that you
Yes,
have to
that's right.
compose according to how the lyrics have been written.
That's right. So for me, it's just more of a natural, organic approach, but
Right.
everyone has their own.
Do you remember your very first song that you wrote?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I was actually in Hong Kong.
Yes.
I lived in Hong Kong for a year.
No
It was
kidding.
a fabulous contract.
Right.
I was at the New World Harbour View Hotel in Wan Chai,
Yeah.
Hong Kong City, at the convention center. And it was a wonderful experience being there, but I really was on my own. I mean, Hong Kong was very much a culture, they work hard and they play hard, but when they were playing hard, I was working.
Right.
So my day off, I was on my own and I'd be off exploring all the time, but I really had a lot of time
Right.
to think and to process and to just try to live in a greater awareness. And I started writing not because I thought I could. It was more of a cathartic exercise, and I never really thought that I was going to be writing and sharing this music. But I did, and the first song that I wrote was a song called Solitude.
Wow.
And it was appreciating I mean, I do have it recorded. It's solitude, because I think that word, sometimes people misinterpret it.
Of course, yes.
Solitude is a place for me to reflect and to rejuvenate and to be able to go back out into the world. And it's not that I want to live a life alone, but
No.
I need that sanctuary of time to replenish. And most importantly, to really be aware of
Your surroundings.
of yes, your surroundings and,
Yeah.
and what's happened, and to find value in it. And that's, I think, how we grow as
You
as
said
people.
something beautiful, that solitude has different connotation when you say the word. I mean, to be alone doesn't necessarily mean that you're lonely,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. It's a very different thing.
Totally.
But I've had, even in relationships, I've had men say to me, "Well, you just want to be by yourself?" Well, no, I don't want to be by myself. but I need my time to reflect.
Yes.
Two very different things.
Artists are that kind of people that really do need a lot of time to themselves, so that they can dig deep down into your soul to figure out where you want to be next, right?
Absolutely, and the older I get, the deeper I go, which I think is a good thing.
That's beautiful. Robyn, I want to take another short commercial break and come back and put the music and dentistry together.
Okay.
And take you to the 7 continents that you've been. And let's just explore all of them. And so when you say 7 continents, that means you've been to India as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
I love India.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about that as well. Robyn is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I'm always searching for a quiet place to be, where voices may be many, but they don't affect me, where spirits sing in a chorus.
Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is an amazing musician. We just heard your song Solitude. You talked about that.
Yes.
Whoa, what a beautiful melody.
Thank you.
So, writing music, traveling, that seems like it goes hand in hand, because when you're traveling, you're looking at different things and different ideas come into your mind, and the taste of different air wherever you go must be just out of this world.
It is out of this world. I'm very grateful. You're inspired
Right.
by your surroundings, and to be in a different surrounding, meeting different people, it's ongoing stimulation.
So for you, to be able to go to different continents, meet different people, has broadened your horizon. Out of all the 7 continents, which is the best, or is it an unfair question?
It's a difficult question because every place has its own specialness.
Yes.
You know, I can say that Antarctica was an amazing experience.
I bet.
In terms of cruising, when people ask what are your most popular, what are your most favorite
Yes.
places to visit, and I will say Antarctica, which it's a spiritual experience.
So vastness.
Yes, yes, and the same with, I recently came back from an African safari. Now,
Right.
I had been to Africa before on the ships, but
Right.
never had time to do a safari. So this is part of Robyn's bucket list, right?
Okay.
So I took my dentist there in 2023, and we're going again in 2024. India was an amazing experience. I've been there a few times on the cruise ships, but
Right.
one journey in particular was quite something because of the guest speakers on board. And I learned all about it. We were in the south, going in Kerala, Kerala area, and I learned about the red rain of India.
Right.
And I had never heard about the red rain of India.
Right.
And that whole experience of learning about that inspired a song for me to write, Red Rain. And so that's just, you know, that's an example of how traveling inspires ideas. So that's just one.
Beautiful.
One example.
I mean, the way you've mentioned, so that means at least the 7 continents have given you 7 fantastic songs.
Yes, and hopefully a bit more. You know, I mean, Shushma, in 2014,
Yes.
I had just, when I was kind of reevaluating my life
Right.
and wanting to make some changes, I also thought, you know what, this is the time to put the vision together in one show. And this idea came to me: songs, stories, 7 continents. I love the alliteration of it.
Wow.
Diary of a Piano Girl, multi-presentation. And I did it. I launched it in 2014. I took it to New York in 2015.
Wow.
And I got great reviews on it. I haven't done it since the pandemic, but I plan to
That
launch
would be
it again.
fantastic. Would love to see that. Now, you talked about, you know, when you take these cruises, I mean, when you go with these dentists, different parts of the world, you also have met some fantastic professors that give beautiful lectures on
Yes.
different topics. Can we talk a little bit
Yes.
about that?
Yes, well, one gentleman in particular, and I'm still very good friends with him and his wife. Both of them worked for the BBC. Ernest Ray,
Yes.
executive producer of the BBC. His wife, Gaynor
Yeah.
Ray, was a a reporter, a producer at BBC.
Right.
He gave lectures throughout the entire itinerary.
Uh-huh.
We were going through India, Iran. We were actually on the only Western cruise ship, to my understanding, that ever got into Iran.
Wow.
Yes, and that was an amazing experience.
I bet.
Yeah,
I
that
bet
was an
it must have
amazing.
been
So,
just
there were 300 guests on that ship. It was a very, very small ship. It was called the Spirit of Adventure. As I told to the custom officials going back into New York, I was living at New York in the time.
You're right.
And they weren't so keen on some of my stamps. And they said, well, you know, what were you doing in Iran? And I said, well, I was on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
I said, well, what cruise ship cruises to Iran? I
Yeah.
said, well, not many,
Yeah.
but this one does. It's called the Spirit of Adventure. Here's
Right.
the stamp. And he said, what people would want to cruise to Iran? And
Yeah.
I said, the people with the spirit of adventure. And
Isn't that just amazing?
Yeah.
And the food, probably, you've tasted all kinds of food.
yes, yes, absolutely.
And of course, I cannot ask you which is the most favorite, but which is the most favorite?
I love hot and spicy food.
Okay,
so
good.
I love Indian food. I love Thai food.
Where do you see yourself, Robyn, in the next 5 years?
You know, it's interesting because each chapter is just getting better and better. And when I stepped in supporting my parents in 2015, and sadly lost my dad
Yeah.
at the beginning of the pandemic,
Ah.
but still supporting my mother,
Yes.
and now have become, very recently, within the last year, very involved advocating for senior care.
Right.
And so I can now, it's just kind of happened naturally, combine my music with my advocacy and be a creative, hopefully stronger voice for something I'm very passionate about. So 3 passions. We have the music, the dentistry, and advocating for seniors.
Fantastic. All the more power to you.
Yeah.
You know, and continue doing this. And we would love to. I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about. I haven't even touched. I've touched everything very, you know, superficially on top. But I'd love to have you come back and choose a topic and talk on that.
Oh, thank you. I would love that as well.
Thank you for being our Woman in Focus today.
Thank you, Shushma. It's been a pleasure.
Robyn has been our Woman in Focus today. You've noticed I haven't pronounced her last name properly, but I'm going to try that right now. McCorquodale. McCorquodale.
Perfect.
All right, there we go. Don't go away. We'll be right back.